The reason why I found crystals to be so helpful in spirit baby communication is simple. Crystals amplify energy.
Welcome to The Reluctant Medium, where we cover the gamut of out there conversations. With an open mind and a curious heart, we want to talk about it all. From psychic phenomena and energy medicine to beings from other star systems and out-of-body experiences. You'll find a great balance between grounded science-backed topics and others that science hasn't quite caught up to yet. I'm your host, Dr. Maria Rothenberger, a psychotherapist by trade and a reluctant spirit baby communicator. And hey, even though I'm a medium, I'm not buying everything folks are selling. I just have a voracious appetite to know more about what I call the world of the weird. Join us on your favorite podcast platform or watch on YouTube at The Reluctant Medium. I'll see you there.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Maria Rothenberger, your host for The Reluctant Medium, and this is my fourth episode in a row, just me talking at you. Are you getting sick of me yet? I am. I'm kind of over it. But not over the content. This is good stuff. We are talking about spirit baby communication for you to do what I do. And I think it is my duty, as I've said before, to teach you to have fundamental tools for communicating with the other side, at least getting the smallest tidbits of information from the other side, and then learning to trust those small-ish tidbits until they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, so the first episode, we talked about the importance of meditation. Can't make that big enough. I just can't emphasize that enough. Please meditate. The second episode, we talked about dream work and how you can use that to communicate with spirit babies. The third episode, we talked about the clairs, all of your clair sensibilities. So that would be clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience, etc., etc. And in this episode, we are going to be talking about crystals and pendulums. Probably one of the most popular tools in Spirit Baby Foundations training is the pendulum to begin with. And I'll explain a little bit about why that is as we get into that. This is, heads up, a little bit of an addiction. Okay, crystals. Whoo, I just can't get enough. When we pass by a stone store or a rock store, I'm like, oh, please take me away from here. Because I want all of the things, all of them. And if you are watching on YouTube right now, I got a dog back there, then you can see this cool pendant my husband got me for my birthday a while ago. This is Unikite, and it is in a cool Tree of Life pendant Etsy. Absolutely amazing stuff on Etsy. If you've never been, go check it out. All right, so the rocks, the stones, the crystals, the gems, whatever you want to call them, they are amazing for spirit baby communication. And we're going to get into that as well as pendulums. Let's just check in first around the Miracles Happen community and the Miracles Happen Fertility Center, which is my business. The Spirit Baby Foundations training will be starting again in September 2023. So if you are interested in really deep diving into this work and connecting with other like-minded people around this over an 8-week period, consider the Spirit Baby Foundations training. Go to drmariarothenberger.com/spiritbabytraining. Of course, click on the link in the show notes. You'll be taken right to that page and you'll get a lot more information there around what it's about. But certainly, you could always just email me, maria@thereluctantmedium.us or info@drmariarothenberger.com, or fill out the contact me page on my website. Oh my gosh, there are like 100 ways to get a hold of me. I will get back to you ASAP. I tend to get quite a few messages, so it might take a week or so, but if you don't hear back from me much longer than that, just poke me again. Put it at the top of my list there, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. All right. So Spirit Baby Foundations training is starting in September 2023. If you are not at all interested in the course, but want to still connect with people who are like-minded and interested in Spirit Baby work and crystals and all of the things, tarot cards, oracle cards, all that, consider joining the Miracles Happen community on the Mighty Networks app. So you just download the Mighty Networks app on your phone, and it's both iOS and whatever the other thing is, Android. Yeah. Clearly I'm not tech savvy. Download the app there and search for the Miracles Happen community, and you'll find us there. Request to join, answer the brief one little question, and you'll have access to everything there. The Spirit Baby Foundations training is also on the app, but it's like a private little section. So once you sign up for the course, it will open up for you. All right. So that is what's happening on my end. I am also very much engaged in the Ethereal Network, which is the podcast network that I'm on. And guess what? We now have a TV channel, Ethereal TV. Yeah. I am just learning about this and uploading my content, and I need to get more information, but I think it's an app that you can get on smart TV or on a phone. I will find more information out about that and give you all the details. If you are not on my newsletter yet, by the way, consider joining that, because all of this information will be in that, and all the new stuff that comes up and discounts and all kinds of stuff. Here's an example of a discount that I gave on the 4th of July. I was feeling really patriotic, and I thought, why not send my newsletter folks a discount? And it, I wanted to match the day, but I didn't want to do 4%, because what's that? I gave people 40% off of everything in my shop. That is Spirit Baby sessions, that's past life regressions, that's packages, coaching packages, everything was 40% off. I mean, that's massive. It was only for one day, but still, that was a big sale. So if you are on my newsletter, you get things like that too. Just go to drmariarothenberger.com and just scroll down a little bit. You'll see a spot to enter your name and email address to get on my mailing list. Okay. Sheesh. Whew. I feel like that was a pretty decent update, especially with the Ethereal TV thing, right? What? Let's get into crystals, shall we? Okay. Let's talk about why crystals. Like, why? So my sister actually just talked to me about this what's today? Tuesday, 2 days ago. I hung out with my sister, and she said that she told somebody that I do crystal healing. And the person responded with like abhorrence, like, what? That is of the devil. And, she should be ashamed of herself, blah, 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 spreading that. So, okay, I've heard this before or whatever, but I don't think that people understand, at least people who think that this is like some kind of like negative, evil voodoo magic or something. I don't think people understand the science behind it. And so I kind of just want to talk about that a little bit. There is research on the effectiveness of crystals and the crystalline structure. In fact, we are made of crystalline structures. There is a fantastic documentary, actually, I think it's a series now on Gaia TV, all about healing crystals and why they are effective. There's also a fantastic episode that's free with Dr. Teresa Bullard on YouTube. It is through Gaia TV, but it's on YouTube free. It's called Crystals as Our Allies, as Our Spiritual Allies, or something like that. If you want to get nerdy, that is the episode to watch, because she talks about how crystals are formed and how they radiate energy and how that affects our energy. It's absolutely scientific. And I highly recommend that you check it out. I'm not going to totally get into all of the details here. There are entire Gaia TV episodes out there about it, and YouTube episodes about it. So I encourage you to go check it out and learn about this yourself. The reason why I found crystals to be so helpful in spirit baby communication is simple. Crystals amplify energy. And so one might even find me in the middle of a session getting up and getting a certain kind of crystal because it helps amplify the communication I am trying to have. So in spirit baby communication, I have found a couple of, or several crystals that are really helpful specifically. And that is rose quartz, labradorite, and clear quartz. There are many others. Moonstone is another one. Rainbow moonstone especially is really useful. There are several others, but I would recommend starting with some kind of labradorite. There are many. Moonstone, by the way, rainbow moonstone is technically a labradorite. And clear quartz. There's also other things depending on the kind of work that you want to do. I believe in that Gaia TV episode on YouTube with Teresa Bullard, she talks specifically about clear quartz helping with dreams clarity or clarity of dreams. So when you go back to that second episode we've done in the series all about dream work, you can do those things and then add a clear quartz crystal to the mix. I believe she says put one under your pillow, and you can also just put one by your bedside. What that does is it amplifies the energy around your body, around your electromagnetic field, and helps with dream interpretation or clarity around what is actually coming through in my dreams. And it is delightful what comes through. Now, if somebody is trying to connect in dream state but not really dreaming, add a howlite. Add a howlite crystal under the pillow or on the bedside, and that is going to help bring in more dreams, right? So crystals are useful for specific things that you are that you're working on. Okay. Rose quartz, for example, is all about getting into your heart space. Spirit babies resonate very well with the heart chakra. They are all about love and joy, all positive affect things, positive emotions. They are also, if you think about it, the heart chakra is the center. It's the connection between the upper chakras and the lower chakras. The lower chakras are very earth-based and the higher chakras are more spiritual, and the heart is in the center of it all, connecting the two. It's like the bridge that connects the spiritual self and the earthbound self. And spirit babies love that energy. They are very much, they are ethereal, they are spiritual, they are up there, but they're also talking about calming earthside, being in a body. And so they are kind of the personification of the heart chakra, if you will. And so crystals that resonate with the heart, actually Unakite does. Anything that's green or pink resonates with the heart chakra. That's the color of the heart chakra. It's actually more depicted as green, but pink is also quite useful for the heart chakra. So rose quartz for that. What did I also mention? Labradorite. Labradorite to me feels very playful. It's that rainbow sparkles. It's very, it's almost like, what's the word I'm looking for? Can somebody help me out here? Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell-esque. Reminds me of that very playful energy that's like always joyful. Like if you were to watch the movie Inside Out, it would be that character Joy. This just high vibration, joyful. Hello, let's do fun things. Let's go have a good time. That to me is labradorite. And that is very much spirit baby realm. They're very playful and not always high energy. Some babies are quite calm, chill. but other babies are very high energy. No matter what, they are drawn to that. It's like a beacon. It's like a beacon of light for them. They swoop right in. So when I use labradorite, I feel spirit baby realm swoop right in much clearer. Here's a good example of a labradorite. Again, for those watching on YouTube, you have a little bit of an advantage with the visuals. I'm showing a labradorite. Oh, I'm going to turn my light off real quick. I'm showing a labradorite. You might see some of that iridescence in there. It's like a little rainbow. That is the labradorite, and it's very fun and playful. And I find it really useful in connecting with the spirit baby realm. There is one crystal that I did an interview on the Miracles Happen podcast a while back from a crystal expert. And I believe that she recommended a peach stone. I'll have to reference that in the show notes for you. I believe it was more around fertility. So, but I will put that in the show notes for you so that I'll link it up there so that you can click on that and listen to that episode. There was a lot of useful information there around fertility stuff. I want to say it was peach moonstone specifically. I will, again, link that up so you can listen to that too. But for spirit baby communication specifically, those 3 stones I find really useful. Now, we can get into all the minutia here. What about raw stones versus polished stones? What about the shape? Does that matter? Do I need to have a heart shape? Do I need to have a sphere? Do I need to have whatever, a palm stone? All of this, it matters. And yet, the most important thing is that it resonates with you. And you will know it. I totally recommend walking into a rock shop and seeing what you're drawn to. Pick up the stone, feel it. You can even pick up the same stone, like 2 labradorites, and feel like one's better for me than the other one. The one over here feels a little lighter to me, and not because it's literally lighter like weight, but it feels like energetically lighter. It matches me a little bit more. You will be able to tell and feel inside. And even if you don't feel like you can, see what you're leaning towards. Like, just hold them in 2 different hands and see where your body wants to go. There are a lot of ways to test whether or not a crystal resonates with you or not. If you're not sure, put those crystals down and try another one. It's totally fine. When I walk into a rock shop, I am overwhelmed by all of the things. And that is a typical empath. So you might have the same experience, actually. You might walk into a rock shop and be like, I need to get out of here because there's too much energy, or I'm so distracted, I'm all over the place. I encourage you to maybe take a step out, take a deep breath, ground yourself by feeling your feet on the ground, and walk back in, only looking at one area of the shop at a time. It's like anything. If you're thinking about a giant project, you break it down in little tiny pieces to reduce that overwhelm and anxiety, right? Same thing when you walk into a rock shop, and if you're an empath, you will experience this. It's a lot of energy. All right, now, important, after choosing the crystals that you will bring home with you, you must cleanse them. All right, so you can do this various ways. One of my favorites is sage or any kind of herbal smoke. So like you light sage, or I use rosemary a lot, and you blow out the end so that it's smoking a little bit, and you hold your crystals over that. It's actually kind of interesting. You can watch this happen. When your crystal is cleansed, the smoke tends to go around it rather than up against it. It goes like to the side. It's almost like the smoke is avoiding the crystal. It's really fascinating. I encourage you to watch that happen with the smoke cleansing. It's pretty cool. So that's one of my favorite ways to do that if I have more time. More often though, you'll find me just putting crystals on my windowsill. And that is for both sunlight and moonlight. So I'll put crystals on my windowsill overnight, or if I'm really in a hurry, I put crystals on my windowsill during the day so they get a few hours of sunlight. That cleanses them. Now, those two things do have different energy. Okay, the sun has very powerful, bright, almost intense energy. And if you want a crystal to be cleansed with that very bright, intense energy because you're using it for a purpose like that, like you really say you have like a head cold and you want to really amplify the effectiveness of a clear quartz crystal, you can put it in sunlight for a few hours to really cleanse it and then bring it near you so that you have amplified connection to the other side. That's just one example. But the different phases of the moon have much more gentle energy on cleansing the crystals. Some say that it cleanses and recharges crystals. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Moon energy, whether it's a new moon, a full moon, and all the phases in between have different cleansing effects on the crystal, depending on what you want to do to when you're using that crystal. So here's an example. If you are starting a project, if you're starting a brand new project, you might want to start on the day after the new moon. So it's like this little tiny sliver of a moon. Put your crystals out overnight so that they get that little tiny bit of moonlight, and then bring those crystals back in and put them on your desk or your workspace, wherever you're starting this new project, and they will help support the motivation and the energy around completing that project and moving forward with that project. Okay, you can also run your crystals underwater, just getting like dust off, just like rinsing. Just be careful. Some crystals are not good for water, like a selenite crystal, not great for underwater. They are quite flaky and fragile, so don't put those underwater. I actually ruined a labradorite crystal this way. I didn't know that they weren't that great underwater, and I was creating a crystal elixir, and the labradorite wasn't even inside the water, but the condensation from the lid or the plastic wrap on top got onto my labradorite and cracked it, which is womp womp. It's one of my favorite stones, and I ruined it. It's still effective, but it doesn't look as intact or pretty, but I still use it. Those are just a couple of ways that you can cleanse your crystals. Now, a word about charging your crystals. Now, some people say that you must cleanse and then charge your crystals, and you do that by moonlight or sunlight, that kind of thing. Same thing. Now, I have not found a particular like must for charging crystals. It's cleansing crystals is more like releasing like the residue from other energies that the crystal has collected, but charging it is not really, in my opinion, totally necessary. I do teach people about how to charge crystals, but I don't know that it's totally necessary to work with them because the pure crystal energy is there all the time. It's just sort of clouded by old energies or intense energies or whatever once you use those crystals. So after you have used those crystals, be sure to cleanse them. So like if I were doing crystal healing, I would always then cleanse those crystals after the client leaves. But to recharge them is not as necessary. Sometimes you might feel, oh, that's my dog Prince shaking off whatever stressors he has. You might feel a need to, you might feel prompted to like pop it in the sunlight for a little longer. So like, for example, if you rinse off a crystal, you might feel like it needs to be, quote, recharged by putting it in the sunlight for a little bit to recharge it. But I don't personally feel that all the time. Once in a great while, I do feel like putting it in the sunlight just amplifies its energy a little bit more. It's more, to me, it's amplifying as opposed to charging. So I suppose it's semantics, but you'll get a sense, and it's really interesting what happens when you have crystals. I know this is so funny to say, but it's so true that you start developing like a relationship or a friendship with them. It's like you know one another. And just like I said, you walk into a crystal shop or a rock shop and you pick up two of the exact same crystals. These are two howlites, but one feels different than the other. You'll even have that experience if you have two or more of the same crystals at home. You will have a relationship with each one, like each one feels different. Okay. So that's the crystal thing. You can also, when you're meditating, there's another skill that you can use when you're meditating, have a crystal with you that feels good to you. You can either hold it in your hands, or if you're laying down in the supine position, place it on one of your chakras that feels right to you. Usually, if you want to harmonize a chakra, then you want to use a crystal that's the same color as that chakra. Although there is a caveat, sometimes there's too much energy in a chakra and you want to use then the opposite color. Just look at a color wheel. For example, if the heart chakra is green, you're going to look at a color wheel where green is and look at the opposite side. I believe it's orange. I think it's orange. I'm not up on my color theory, but I believe it's orange. So you want to use an orange crystal on the heart chakra if there's too much energy going on in here. A lot of anxiety, a lot of excess stuff in there. On the other hand, if you're in grief, you want to increase the energy in the heart space. And so that means use a green crystal. That's just a little mini crystal healing lesson. I will be, by the way, alerting my email list, my newsletter list about these mini classes that I'll be creating for folks, and crystal healing is one of them. So you can get a lot more in-depth information with that. That is coming up over the next few months as well. Okay, so that's a little bit on crystals and how they are useful for Spirit Baby communication. If you are in meditation and intending to communicate with Spirit Baby, having those crystals on you is really useful. We already talked about crystals with dream work too, so that's great. I always encourage you, again, to have like a Spirit Baby journal and write down your experiences in that journal because that is going to be useful to validate and create a sense of trust for your own intuitive knowing. Always important. Okay, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about pendulums. Pendulums have been the most well-received tool, I suppose I should say, in Spirit Baby Foundation's training because it is so clear, or it can be so clear in terms of communication. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. We've been talking about crystals in Spirit Baby communication, and now we're moving into the pendulum. For those on YouTube, you see me swinging a pendulum in front of my face right now. This is an example of a pendulum. What I am swinging in front of my face is a layer of crystals in I don't even know this shape. This is a hexagon, but it's got a point on the end, and it's got layered crystals in there, and it's on the end of a chain. And so really anything that is a chain or a string that is weighted at the end and can swing back and forth, that's fine. You can use that as a pendulum. I could use my pendant that I'm wearing right now as a pendulum. And this has been used in divination work and that kind of thing for, I don't know, ever. I don't know the history of the pendulum, to be honest with you, but it's been used for a long time. This happens to be a crystal pendulum, so I have the chakra color stones on here, and it happens to like me the most. Just as I said before, with you developing relationships with your crystals, you will also develop relationships with your pendulums. I have a clear quartz pendulum that just doesn't like me. It doesn't work very well. I don't know how to get it to work better than it does, but it doesn't work very well. And so this is my go-to, my chakra pendulum. Okay, this is how the pendulum works. Now, people think that this is mysterious or magical or something. It's not. It's just reading your vibration, your electromagnetic field. that's what it's doing. The electromagnetic field is measurable. We have tools that can do that nowadays. The HeartMath Institute shows us that our EMF goes about 3 feet in diameter all around the body. They actually think it's bigger than that, but they can measure it up to 3 feet out right now. And I'm sure developing tools to measure it even more. But that's what the pendulum is picking up on. So you'll want to be careful here, because when you communicate with the pendulum, you want to be sure that your ego is out of this communication, that you are a channel, that you are allowing another energy to move into your EMF, into your electromagnetic field, to then manipulate the pendulum. So here's an example, right? This is very difficult when you are doing spirit baby communication with your own babies, because you have an electromagnetic field that wants the pendulum to answer you in a certain way, and it will, because it's picking up on your energies. So you're going to want to create a space where you are clear and your ego is just moved away. You are a vessel or a clear channel for the spirit babies to communicate through you and use this pendulum. They're using your energy to communicate with the pendulum. Some people find it easier to have a partner hold the pendulum, and then they ask the pendulum the questions. They ask spirit baby the questions and ask spirit baby to manipulate the pendulum. You can ask them in your head. Spirit babies are telepathic. They can communicate with you just with thoughts. So you don't have to even say them out loud. So your partner doesn't even know what you're asking. All right. So here's how this works. You first want to, if you're using a crystal pendulum, you want to make sure that it's cleansed. Okay. And I haven't cleansed this one in a while, so I'm hoping that it works. It's probably absorbed some energies from my office. So hopefully it works. We're going to see. So what I like to do is first set up the yes and no answers on your pendulum. Okay, so you hold the pendulum. I like to hold it above my hand because that creates more energy coming up from my palm chakras. And you want to steady it, make sure that it's just straight up and down. I hope for those of you not seeing this visually, I'm explaining this correctly. So you're hovering the pendulum over your open palm, and you just ask the pendulum, show me yes. Show me yes. And for those watching, you see that it's moving like east-west slightly, moving east-west. Then you ask the pendulum, show me no. Show me no. And you might be able to see then, it's very slight. On YouTube, it's now moving slightly north and south. Slightly north and south. Okay, these are basic questions that you're going to be asking your spirit baby, yes or no questions. Spirit baby, are you here? Spirit baby, are you ready to come? Spirit baby, etc., etc. Now, of course, this is limited communication because it's only yes or no, right? And so you can only go so far. Because sometimes you get a yes, but you want more answers than that. You want more details. Sometimes you get a no and you want more details. So pendulum communication is limited to yes or no. However, there are other things that you can do with the pendulum that is communicative. And I'll show you this right now. This is a little mat that I purchased, I think it was in a local metaphysical shop, where you put this mat on your desk and then you hover the pendulum over it and ask whomever you're communicating with to answer in the appropriate ways of this mat. So for those who cannot see this, I'm going to try to verbally explain what's here. On this mat, it's a black felt and it's got phrases or words all around the perimeter of the mat. It's a rectangle mat. And the answers up and down, north and south, are no. The answer east and west are yes. Up in the upper corner, one of the corners says maybe. The other one is rephrase. There's another one that says try again. And there's another one that says will not answer. And then there are notches in between these words. So you can see how you can get more in-depth information or communication from the pendulum using a mat like this. So if you ask the pendulum or ask the spirit a question and it says rephrase, then you're going to ask that question in a different way. If you get will not answer, then there you have it. Will not answer. And I will tell you, using clairvoyance or clairaudience or my clairs, there are many times that I've asked spirit baby or someone's guides a question about them and they're like blank, totally just stop talking. And that is my indication that they will not answer. I am not meant to know that information. My client is not meant to know that information. And so I tell them that they're not answering, and it's probably not for your highest good to know that information. Because before every session, and I hope that you do this too, like I talked about in the very first episode in this series, you want to create an element of protection around you. And you always want to start with the intention of any communication that comes through is for your highest good, for the baby's highest good, for your spouse's or partner's highest good if you have a partner. For all souls involved in this process, it's for their highest good in the highest possible way. Okay. And so sometimes then, because you set that intention, communication will not come through. And sometimes you don't set that intention, but that communication still comes through. We're not answering. And that is perfectly fine. It's meant to protect you in this life. Okay, so please trust it. You can still communicate, ask different questions. The pendulum is one of the most popular tools in spirit baby communication because you can ask direct questions and you get seemingly direct answers. And the more that you practice, the better that it gets, especially when the more that you practice moving your ego out of the way and really being a channel for communication from the other side, you'll start to get more and more clear answers from the other side via the pendulum. And it's very tangible and it's easy. It's lightweight. You don't even have to go to a crystal shop. You just pick a necklace that you have or put a rock from your garden on the end of a string and, that's weighted. It'll swing back and forth like a pendulum. And you can start without one of these fancy mats too. You can just ask yes or no. You can even say, show me yes, show me no, show me rephrase, and it might move a different way. Sometimes the pendulum moves counterclockwise. Sometimes it moves clockwise. You're just asking the pendulum to show you, or you're asking spirit really to communicate to you through the pendulum to show you answers and what they look like in your particular energy. And then the pendulum shows that. It reads it for you so that you don't have to sense it in your body. Use your clairsentience, use your clairvoyance, use your clairaudience. The cool thing is, this is a really great beginner tool. You're going to start noticing that the pendulum matches your clairaudience, your clairsentience, your clairvoyance. You're going to start being like, oh my God, I already knew that because I saw it, or it just popped in my head, or I felt it in my body. It is a beautiful tool to start really fine-tuning your clair skills so that you don't need a pendulum anymore. But it's still fun. It's still fun to play with. And sometimes when I'm not feeling as connected to the other side, I will use a pendulum. There are times, I'm under the weather or I'm tired or whatever, and I want to communicate. I will use a pendulum or tarot cards or oracle cards like I will be talking about in the next episode. But it's really, really useful for the beginning stages of spirit baby communication. And I highly encourage you to practice and try it out. It's a good time. Okay, so we have now covered lots of aspects of beginning to talk to spirit babies and really the other side in general. And we have one more tool to talk about in the next episode. We're going to be talking about tarot and oracle cards. And again, it's an addiction. So just a warning, it is so much fun. I actually just sold 5 decks of oracle cards because I'm like, all right, I guess I'm not actually using these, so I'll let them go to a place that they're probably going to be used. I had to say goodbye, but they are fun to actually even just have one deck. I had one deck for the longest time, and I will show you that deck in the next episode when we talk about Spirit Baby communication with tarot and oracle cards. I hope this has been helpful for you. Again, if you want to know more in depth and really want to get a foundation under you for Spirit Baby communication and connecting with other like-minded souls over an 8-week period, come with us in September 2023 for Spirit Baby Foundations training. Go to my website, drmariarothenberger.com/Spirit Baby training. Find all the information there, and I will hopefully see you there. Thanks for watching today and or listening, and I will see you next time. Be well. I'm hoping you got a useful nugget or two from today's podcast episode. May you be well, and I'll see you next time.